Welcome to episode 2 of the Beyond February podcast, where we highlight changemakers in our Montreal community. Today, we're excited to introduce our guest, Frank Baylis, a dedicated advocate for social justice and former Liberal MP for Pierrefonds-Dollard. Frank's commitment to equality is inspired by his mother, Gloria Baylis, who fought against employment discrimination in Canada. He actively opposes legislation that undermines marginalized groups, such as Bill 21 and 96. In addition to his political work, Frank leads Baylis Medical, a billion-dollar family business known for innovative medical devices. He demonstrates that corporate success can align with community advocacy. Join us as we discuss Frank's journey and his effort to create a more just society in Montreal. So Frank, thank you for being a part of episode 2. How are you today?
I'm very good, Trish. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So you've done so much, so I'm just going to jump right in. So your mother's fight against employment discrimination is inspiring. How has her legacy shaped your approach to leadership in both business and advocacy?
That's a great question. So we're all raised by our parents,
Yes.
my mother and my father. And my mother was a powerful woman. She
Mhm.
was a really strong woman who had very strong values. And she was a person that stood up for herself.
Mhm.
Just her upbringing and that. And she taught that to us. She more than taught, when you're around it, you get inculcated. And what I mean by that is it was just what you know.
Right.
It's just what you know. You're not, your mother never sits down. Now, let me tell you, you got to do this and that. It's just how she behaved, how she raised us, how my father supported her. And I think it's reflected in not just myself, but my brother and my 2 sisters and how we approach life. And that she had a very strong moral compass.
I love that.
And she held us to that too.
That's awesome. And having navigated both the political and business arenas, what are the most valuable lessons you've learned about influence and change making?
That's a very perceptive way of looking at things, because when you're in politics or in business, what tends to happen is you're often presented with situations where you have to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are positions where you have to compromise
Right.
times. You have to compromise. So in politics, guess what? You're not going to get your way all the time. In business, you're not going to get your way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody that says you shouldn't compromise, or I never compromise, I never do anything I don't want to do in that, okay, that person has no friends, because they're only going to go to the movies that they want to go to. They're only going to watch the TV shows they want to
Right.
watch. They're only going to go to the restaurants they want. So we all compromise.
Of course.
We all compromise in life, and you have to. That's living together in that. But what does happen is that there's certain lines that you say, okay, that I can't compromise on.
Mhm.
That line I can't pass. I can't cross that line. And that'll happen in politics.
Yes.
Because maybe the team that you're on is presenting some legislation and you go, okay, no, that's it. Or they want you just to hold your nose and vote for it, or they'll twist your arms in some
Right.
cases,
Okay.
say, you got to support this.
Yeah.
And at those instances, you have to say, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
I'm not going to do that. And in business, the same things will come up where you go, is this the right thing to do? Should
Right.
I do that? And I was very lucky because both my mother and my dad were very strong people like that. And when it came to these kind of value questions a lot, I would go and ask my father.
Mhm.
And sadly, both my mom and dad are passed away, but my father was one of those people, okay, you're going to do this. Okay, that, and the conversation was always over, because then I'd say, well, listen, Dad, I was thinking about this. And he goes, hey, I just told you. I was like, oh.
Right.
And it was like, he wasn't a man of many words. And he was like, that's it.
But when he did speak, he said a lot.
And you listened.
That's
and
it.
And the line was clear. I said, okay, I got you.
I understand for sure. So can you also share a pivotal moment during your time in politics that solidified your commitment to social justice?
One of the things that happened when I was in politics is that I represented a riding that was extremely culturally diverse. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Pierrefonds-Dollard, it
Yes.
seemed like half of Canada sometime had a
Right.
family member or themselves lived in one of these 2 towns. And I was approached by gentlemen from my local mosque. And this was the beginning of their concerns about Islamophobia.
Okay.
And they said, Frank, like we're getting worried, because what happens when people are attacked, it starts with rhetoric.
Right.
It starts on TV shows, or certain political people start saying things, and then it amps up. And we got to the point where we had killings right here in Quebec. We
Wow.
forget that some guy whose mind was poisoned went in and shot up a place of worship. But they had contacted me before that, and they said, can you do something to try and bring bring this to light. So I said, yeah, sure. So I went back to Ottawa. I said, listen, I'd like to do a day where we debate Islamophobia in House of Commons. He goes, Frank, the days here are so expensive, so valuable. We're not using it up. Who's against Islamophobia? So I went back to him and I went and saw my friend David Graham, who was an expert in politics. And he said, okay, Frank, what you can do is you can make a motion for unanimous consent. There's no debate.
Right.
You just stand up and say, hey, can we all agree that we want to condemn Islamophobia? I said, okay, that's good. So I met with the guys at the mosque. I said, listen, we can't do it the day of debate, but I got this new idea from my friend David. We're going to try this. So I went to see the bosses and they go, Frank, no. I said, why not? Because I said, we can do it on this day. It's the United Nations International Day Against Discrimination. It'll be wonderful. We'll just make a statement.
Great.
I said, no, because it's being abused. So all the parties said no, because people would get up and say, can we have unanimous consent that all the people in this party want to destroy the environment? And you get a lot of nonsense that goes on sometimes in the House of Commons. Just said, there's none of that. What to do? So then I went and saw my friend David Graham again. He said, listen, what you can do, maybe you want to think about is a petition. If you make a formal petition in the House of Commons petition way, you have the right to present it in the House of Commons. And see, when you present it in the House of Commons, it's there for life. It's forever.
Okay.
Because it's registered. So I said, that, and they can't stop you. I said, okay, so that's what we're going to do. I went back, met the guys at the mosque, said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a petition. And at the time, that petition, it's our electronic House of Commons petitions. It got the most signatures in Canadian history. It's since been surpassed, I should say. But we kind of set up, hey, this is a way to really, a local riding MP could make an impact and bring something to the House of Commons and have power there. Power of the voice are there. So that was one that was really important to me, but it wasn't just given. You know, we had to go through a few different steps.
It doesn't sound like it was easy, but you did it.
Yeah.
That's it. So you've been very vocal about Bill 21. So in your view, what are the long-term implications of such legislation in Quebec?
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. Bill 21, I am the co-president to Non à la Loi 21, no to Bill 21.
Okay.
I look at Bill 21 and I just see my mom's case reflected again.
Yes.
Right here in Montreal, my mom was denied. People forget this in the 60s. You know what? This young woman, we don't like the color of your skin. You're not getting a job. We kind of go, I can't be. Today, we don't. Some young woman, you know what? We don't like your religion. You're not getting a job.
Right.
I see it exactly the same, and I see it fundamentally discriminatory and specifically targeting. I know it targets men too, because if you wear a kippah or a turban, you can also be stopped. But this is an attack on women. I see, especially the young women that want to become school teachers. It really churns my stomach.
Of course.
It really hurts me. And I've met people that have lost their jobs. It's not like, oh, it's ethereal. And you know what? There's a lady in Ottawa, and Gatineau, in the Quebec side of Ottawa, that lost her job. She was a great school teacher. Kids loved her. Parents loved her. And what was her crime?
Right.
What was her crime? She's wearing a hijab. This is a crime. And you're protecting our children because, my gosh, she's wearing, like, it's ridiculous. It's shameful. I am not going to stop speaking against it.
Good.
It's something I feel very, very strongly about. And I just see the reflections again of what my mother was put through. And I find it just, it breaks my heart when I see this, and I know that this is on the wrong side of history, and it's going to go away.
Of course.
Like my mom's case took 12 years.
Wow.
12 years. But she was on the right side of history. And this was before the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This was before that.
Right.
And so we need to fight. We need to help these people get their rights back, and we'll get that.
Yes.
It will happen. I am absolutely convinced. I know people are pessimistic now in politics and all that, but no, we're holding the line there, and I'm sure in the long run we're going to win that one.
I believe you will too. I do. How do you balance the demands of running a major company with your advocacy work?
I'm overly busy.
Talk about it. Give us a little more.
I am. I'm overly busy, and I'm pulling in a lot of different directions right now. But I enjoy having a business.
Okay.
I'll enjoy showing up to work at my business and that. And what we do is we develop medical products that change the way people are treated. And something, by the way, I need to say this so everybody knows this. I did not start the business. Everybody thinks I did. It was my mother. My mother was the original entrepreneur. I joined her and grew it from there with a partner, Chris Shaw, and many excellent employees. And a great team we have. But it's something that I really enjoy doing. We conceive new ways of treating people,
Wow.
helping people. This was a core part of what my mother was about. It's
Right.
her ethos. She was a nurse, and she was always caring about patients.
Beautiful.
And this is just was another extension of the way she did it. And I really work hard to keep that ethos of my mother in the business, you know?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And if you could design a new piece of legislation to enhance equality, excuse me, in Quebec, what would that look like?
Oh boy. What would it look like? Well, first of all, we would do, as you said, Trish, we have to do a 180 turnaround and
Of
saying
course.
laws like Bill 21, which are so discriminatory and so exclusionary, are not helping Quebec in the long run.
Hmm.
They're not making Quebec a stronger society.
Right.
They're not making our kids more educated. They're not helping in any way like this. I would, first of all, look at leadership, even before I look at a law. I know your question was what law,
Right.
but it starts with leaders.
Of course.
And it starts with leaders saying, no, these people are not our enemy. These people are just as much Quebecers as you are or whatever. They have just as much right here. And not only that, they're good Quebecers. They're working hard. They're paying their taxes. They're contributing to society. And we need to stop attacking them.
Right.
And I think, sadly, we haven't seen enough of that on the provincial or federal level.
Mm.
I felt that that's one of the areas I wish our government and other governments had been far more willing to stand up, take stronger positions and say, these are bad laws.
Yes.
You know, these are bad laws, and you have a right to fight against bad laws, and you have a right to make statements against bad laws. And if you don't, what happens is the average person is busy. And so the average person goes like, I hired you to run the place, and the job of the government is if there's something really bad going on, okay, ring the bell, call us up, tell us what's going down. But if
Yeah.
not, I'm busy. I got to look after my job. I got my kids. I got my family. And I think that what happened with Bill 21, people go, oh, you know, let's not say anything. Let's kind of let it go under the radar. And that was a big mistake. We should have been firm and strong right away. This is a bad law.
Yeah.
This is a discriminatory law. And that type of leadership is what I've sadly been wanting to see more of. It's been missing it,
course.
if I could say it that way.
Right. Okay. And in light of your recent business success, how do you define true success beyond financial metrics?
So yeah, we've had some success in business, but it's a mistake to say that financial is the end goal. And if people I
Right.
see, I talk to a lot of young business startups, people starting their businesses. I try to help people I can. Those that are focused on making money, not going to work
And why is that?
because it's the focus on doing something. It's your mission, your statement. What are you trying to accomplish? So for example, in our company, every minute of every hour of every day of the year, someone somewhere in the world, could be in China, Japan, Europe, Africa, North America, South America, someone's being treated with a product we conceived and developed and brought to market, our company. You think about that. So right now, during this course of this conversation, people have been treated, may be in Japan, China, I don't know where it is, or it might be in the Middle East. That impact we've had has been the great success of our business. Has it made us wealthy? Yes. But that didn't come first. That came by having that impact. And that I'm more proud of that. And I think, you know, if my mother, she's passed away, but if she was alive today, she would love that number. The money she was never doing it. She was not a money person. That wasn't important to her as much as having this kind of an impact. And whenever I see people starting businesses, I want to have a real impact, a social impact or a business impact, whatever. I say, okay, you're on the right track.
Right.
If I see people that are focused strictly on money, it generally doesn't work. Yeah.
That's a great answer. I love that. And your career has seen so many significant transitions. How do you approach change, and what advice would you give to others facing major career shifts?
So today you need to be constantly learning. If not, you're going to get run over. I'm an electrical engineer, and probably the rate of change, I can't even keep up. And I'm trained in this field, and I'm going like, whoa. So I think if anybody in any of their fields, whatever they're doing, stay abreast. It's a rapidly changing world there, and don't fight change.
Yeah.
I find people
like
that if you fight change, you're just going to get slowed down, and it's not going to work. So the idea is to embrace it. It's the world we live in now.
Right.
The technologies that we're working with today, they're going to look like, wow, that was antiquated like 5 years from now. But I think that's what we have to do, and not be afraid to make major changes in your careers. Nowadays, people change radically their careers.
Of course.
And I think that that's a good thing to do. I was a business person and I became a politician.
Yeah.
Totally different. And I went back to my business, and I have other outside interests as well. But I encourage people to really scratch whatever itch that they want to try.
Yeah, try it all out, right?
Yeah, give it a shot. Why not?
It. I like that. And how do you keep yourself motivated during challenging times in all of your work?
So I'm pretty motivated because I'm excited about what's in front of me, and I have a few goals that I'm working towards.
Right.
So I'm not satisfied. I have different things I want to accomplish, and my challenge is always time.
Right.
I wish I had more time. Give me more time.
Right.
And that I think we're all like that, but that's my real challenge.
Time is the one thing we can't get back.
Yeah.
So you've got to use it wisely, right? Right.
Yeah.
And lastly, if you had the opportunity to return to politics, what specific issue would you prioritize first?
Okay. I've been thinking a lot about this because I think a lot about our country. I think that Canada is a wonderful country. We're really blessed to live here. We're really blessed to live here. We have so much going for us. And I see opportunity to make our country better and stronger in a number of different ways. I'd like to really get our healthcare system. Obviously, I work in the healthcare field, but I see opportunities to make our healthcare system the best, most performing at a reasonable price, great service in the world. I shoot big, okay?
Right.
So I would like to see that happen. And I'd like to see something I call like a prosperity agenda.
Of course.
So whatever field you're working in, whatever kind of company you're in or business, if it's small, medium, or large, if you're scaling up, growing it, that the government is helping us be prosperous. And that's what's going to allow citizens to buy a house.
Oh, yeah.
Getting control of, we don't want inflation making it such that people can't buy houses now. I worry about that for our young people. It really, I mean, when I bought my first house, I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get, and it was like $195,000. It was all the money in the world now. You know what I mean?
Of
Like
course, at that time.
people would laugh now, right? I'm like, how can I afford this?
Absolutely.
My God. But in retrospect, it was more affordable for me back then, even though it was a stress back then. But now I look at it especially for young people, it's a big challenge. So we need to really get our economy going and creating the jobs that allow them to buy a house. Because very few people, I don't know anybody that can just walk and buy your house. You need a good job to get the mortgage to buy a house.
Frank, what are some quotes that you live by, or one word or one thing that you live by?
What's a quote I live by? One of the ones someone told me I really liked, it said, listen, learn, then lead. And I try and remember that all the time, because listen, and not just listen, because some people listen and they don't learn. They don't learn.
Exactly.
Listen, learn, then you can lead.
Right.
So I that's when the guy gave me a while back, I've been rolling over in my mind.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Frank, for being on episode 2 of Beyond February podcast. We appreciate you so much.